One Israeli hostage has made a journey from a Hamas terror tunnel deep underneath Gaza to a seat at the United Nations Security Council. Eli Sharabi testified to the world what it was like as a Hamas hostage for nearly 500 days. Here's his testimony and a review of the latest developments in the region.
My name is Eli Sharabi. I'm 53 years old. I've come back from hell. I've returned to tell my story.
Eli Sharabi, freed after 491 days in captivity, addressed the UN Security Council on Thursday.
I cannot begin to describe the agony. It was hell. I was fed a piece of pita a day, maybe a sip of tea. Hunger consumed everything. They beat me. They broke my ribs. I didn't care. I just wanted a piece of bread.
He also testified Hamas stole the humanitarian aid sent into Gaza.
I saw Hamas terrorists carrying boxes with the UN and UNRWA emblems on them into the tunnel. Dozens and dozens of boxes, paid by your government. They would eat many meals a day from the UN aid in front of us, and we never received any of it. When you speak of humanitarian aid, remember this. Hamas eats like kings, while hostages starve.
Sharabi, who dreamed of rebuilding his life with his wife and 2 daughters, learned that Hamas murdered them on October 7th. Israeli UN Ambassador Danny Danon chastised the UN for ignoring Hamas's crimes against the captives.
For 530 days, you have erased the hostages. You have spoken about Gaza without mentioning the crimes of Hamas. You have debated humanitarian assistance without acknowledging the humanitarian crimes Hamas is deliberately inflicting on the hostages. You have had the audacity to talk about a ceasefire without demanding that those held in Hamas's terror tunnels be freed.
On the ground in Gaza, the IDF expanded its military operation. The White House continues its support for Israel.
This situation, let's not forget, is completely the fault of Hamas when they launched that brutal attack on Israel on October 7th. And the president has made it very clear that he wants all of those hostages to come home, and he fully supports Israel and the IDF and the actions that they've taken in recent days.
As the Houthis fired another ballistic missile towards Israel Thursday, the U.S. continues its air campaign to stop the Iranian-backed group from terrorizing Israel and the region. Meanwhile, in an unprecedented move, Israel's cabinet voted unanimously to fire the head of the country's domestic intelligence agency. Ronen Bar is the head of the Shin Bet, the equivalent of America's FBI. Netanyahu accused Bar of failing to warn the government in time about October 7th. As Iranians celebrated the Persian New Year of Nowruz, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke directly to the Iranian people.
May this be a year of servat, prosperity. Prosperity when you, the people of Iran, can finally enjoy Iran's rich natural resources, those resources that have been so long denied to you by an oppressive regime. A year of azadi, freedom, real freedom, freedom from oppression, freedom from want, freedom to live, freedom to choose. Chag Nowruz Sameach, Happy Nowruz to all of you.
IDF Sergeant Major Chaim Mailspin told CBN's Raj Nir Hamas and other terror groups were using the ceasefire to prepare for another invasion of Israel.
Our intelligence gave a very strong indication that during this regrouping time, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Jabhat al-Nusra, etc., wanted to actually do another invasion. Right now, during the ceasefire, this is what our intelligence sources said, use the little time they had during the ceasefire to do another invasion.
The IDF is pleading with civilians to get out of the combat zones.
Yesterday, the Israeli army dropped leaflets asking us to evacuate the area in Beit Hanun.
Israel's defense minister warns that it's going to get worse if the hostages are not freed and Hamas removed from power.
Unless all the Israeli hostages are released and Hamas is expelled from Gaza, Israel will act with forces never before seen. Take the U.S. President's advice, return the hostages and expel Hamas, and other options will be presented to you, including relocating to other places in the world for those who wish. The alternative is utter destruction and devastation.
In Washington, the Trump administration says the new fighting could end right away if Hamas would accept the U.S. proposal to extend the ceasefire begun in January. An administration spokesperson warned the opportunity is still there, but it's closing fast. The State Department says what President Trump wants most is a permanent and real peace between the Israelis and Palestinians. President Trump called on Iran to stop arming the Houthi rebels in Yemen, promising to step up attacks until they are completely annihilated. As to Iran's nuclear program, Trump has reportedly given the regime in Tehran 2 months to negotiate a deal making sure they don't develop nuclear weapons. The president indicated if this can't be done peacefully, it will have to be done militarily. Iran responded with its own threat.
We will firmly respond to any aggression against our territorial integrity, national security, or interests with full force. There is no question about that.